everyone. This is Akiko Fujimoto tuning in from Seguin, Texas. I'm the music director and conductor of the Mid-Texas Symphony. And today I'm here to give you a backstage peek at our upcoming concert, Merry Melodies, our holiday concert on Sunday, December 14th. And today I'm very honored to be joined by a few guests who are guest artists with us this weekend. And the first one is CC Cummings. She is the artistic director and co-founder of Ballet Texas. Welcome, CC.
Hi, Akiko. Thank you so much for having me. We're very excited to be performing with the Mid-Texas Symphony this weekend.
Thank you. Likewise. So what CC's dancers will be doing are excerpts from the ballet Nutcracker, of course, the perennial favorite, music by Tchaikovsky and choreography by CC herself and under her direction. We are doing about 15 minutes from the Nutcracker. We're going to start with the overture, and we have some of the character dances, and we're going to close that portion with the big pas de deux. This will be a good introduction for our audience to Ballet Texas, as well as to their upcoming production, a full production of the Nutcracker. So, CC, before we get to Ballet Texas, tell us about a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so like she said, my name is CC Cummings. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and have since migrated to any place warm.
Yes.
So I trained in ballet and other styles of dance my entire life growing up. I developed a love for ballet in high school and attended the School for Creative and Performing Arts, which is a performing arts high school in Cincinnati. I was there for my freshman and sophomore year of high school. And then during those summers, I would attend what's called a summer intensive. So this is anywhere between 4 and 6 week course where you travel to train with a ballet company across the country, and they board you and house you, and you're there for the duration training and learning excerpts from shows, and then you have a showcase at the end. So I participated in Sarasota Ballet's summer intensive for my freshman and sophomore year. And after my sophomore year, I was offered a scholarship to train with the Margaret Barberry Conservatory, which is the pre-professional conservatory attached to the Sarasota Ballet. So my junior year of high school, I actually moved away from home and began living in Sarasota, Florida full time to train there. And I got to dance alongside the Sarasota Ballet in a couple of their professional productions. And then I transitioned to train with the Sarasota Cuban Ballet School, also based in Sarasota. They had a very rigorous training program, and all of my teachers had migrated to the States from Cuba. So they had all trained at the Cuban National School, and a couple of them had danced professionally with the national company in Cuba.
Amazing. Is that where you picked up your Spanish? Because when I attended in-studio practice session with the dancers, I was blown away that you were coaching in both English and Spanish.
Yeah, so my Spanish is a little bit rusty, but I did pick up most of my Spanish when I was training at the school. I was actually really fortunate. When I was 18, our school traveled to Cuba to compete in the international ballet competition that takes place. It takes place in Havana, I believe, every 2 years. So I got the opportunity to travel there and compete. And through training at the school and then also traveling to Cuba and being there for 2 weeks, training with the Cuban teachers and talking to the dancers there, that was kind of where my Spanish grew. And then we have one of our dancers with the company, Ballet Texas. His name is Roberto. He moved to the States from Mexico about 5 months ago. And so we kind of are at a similar level of my English or my Spanish and his English. So sometimes I'll coach him in Spanish or in English, and we kind of find a middle ground there.
Well, you look very comfortable to me doing it. And your skills learned in Florida, of course, are now coming in handy in Texas. How did you make your way to Texas?
So I got offered a contract with Ballet San Antonio in September of 2018.
Mhm.
And so I began dancing professionally with them in their corps de ballet. And I trained and performed professionally with Ballet San Antonio for 4 seasons as a company member.
Fantastic. And how did you and Sarah come to co-found Ballet Texas?
Yeah, so I started performing with Farah's dance studio called American Dance Company.
Mhm.
They started putting on productions of the Nutcracker 8 years ago, and I believe it was their third production that I got hired in to guest perform as the Sugar Plum Fairy, because
Mhm.
at that point it was only students that were performing, so Farah would hire in guest artists to do the principal roles. So I performed with them for a couple of their productions, and then in 2022, I believe, I actually ran into Farah at a performance and she was in need of a new ballet director for the school. So I took on that job and began directing for the school and directing the ballet productions that we would do through American Dance Company. And eventually, we just got to a point where we were hiring in more and more guest artists, and we felt that we wanted to continue taking the productions to the next level. And the way to do that was to have our own professional company in house that we were training full time and that can be performing full time and that they can all be living in New Braunfels, and New Braunfels and the surrounding area can get to know these dancers and love these dancers instead of seeing new performers each show.
That's fantastic. Now, you perform your shows, the full productions, including the Nutcracker at the Brontex. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And tell us when those shows are happening.
So we'll be performing the Nutcracker at the Brontex, not this weekend, but next weekend. We open on December 19th, which is a Thursday, and we go up until Sunday, December 22nd. And we have evening shows on Thursday and Friday. We perform at 7 p.m. And on Saturday and Sunday, we have a 2 p.m. matinee and a 7 p.m. show.
Excellent. So we are very fortunate to give our audience a little bit of a preview. Of course, the orchestra, will be on stage as opposed to, only the dancers and sets being on stage at your production. But I promise we won't get in the way of the dancing. And we will provide the best music we can. And it's always exciting, the intersection of dance and music is it's very something, special and exciting that doesn't happen when it's just the music or just the dancing. So I'm very excited to do this. Now, for our audience, the Nutcracker, of course, is by Tchaikovsky, one of our beloved composers in the classical canon. And, he wrote 3 big operas. And this is like the third and final, the culmination, basically the best, of Tchaikovsky ballet. And the music is just amazing for us to play. And the colors that he brings out in the orchestra, it's just astounding. And I feel like he really reached this amazing level of ballet music, music for dancing, but music that's intrinsically interesting. I know this is music that the dancers dance to their whole lives. But if you could take a step back, like what does this Nutcracker music mean to you and the ballet dancers?
Absolutely. So I agree that the Nutcracker score is just absolutely iconic. And although we listen to the music every year, and by the time our last show has come around, we are maybe a little bit tired of hearing it, there's always such an excitement in the air and a giddiness when the Nutcracker music starts playing again when we start rehearsing in August and September. And there's just something so beautiful about how each of the divertissements really reflects the country of origin that they're supposed to be performing. And as a choreographer, it's very useful and also inspiring to be able to have music that is so directly correlated to the movement. And my two favorite scores for the show are definitely the Waltz of the Flowers is just absolutely iconic and beautiful and could never get tired of it. And the Grand Pas de Deux is just stunning and it's so dynamic and it fits the movement so well. And it just brings the audience a sense of excitement. There's sophistication, but there's still power and energy. And it was a role that I was very fortunate to play for many years. And it's always very nostalgic for me to get to coach it and to see
Mhm.
it on stage.
Well, you actually went straight to the my last question. Not every dancer becomes a choreographer and or a director, just like not every musician becomes a composer or a conductor. A lot of people ask me like, do you also compose? And I don't. That's a gift that I don't have, but I'm happy to be the recreator of what other people wrote. But ballet's artistic director sometimes has to do both, unless you're recreating somebody else's production. You do your own choreography to tell the story, and then you also coach it to the dancers to prepare. What was that transition like from being one of the dancers to that creative role and the instructional role?
It's definitely been a learning experience because it's very different to be on the other side of the room and to see things from a different perspective. The transition actually was accidental at first because I had left Ballet San Antonio and was planning to freelance dance for a year while searching for a new company position. And while I was doing that, I was choreographing and directing these pre-professional productions for Farrah with American Dance Company. And after one of our shows that year that I hadn't performed in, I had only directed and choreographed, which was unique for me. Normally, I would guest perform in the productions that I was choreographing as well. And I told Farrah, I don't know, I had more fun this week just getting to help the dancers and support
Mhm.
them and create than I ever have getting to dance on stage. Like, this
Wow,
has been more enjoyable for me. And
amazing.
that was around the same time that Farrah had been thinking about starting a professional company. And so it kind of all fell into place.
That's fantastic. And when I saw you in the studio, you just seem like a total natural. The way you spoke to the dancers, the way you instructed, the way you helped, and our communication about transitions and things. It's just you just seem like a natural director. So congratulations in
Thank
this
you.
new phase of your ballet career. We really look forward to seeing your dancers on stage. I know you won't be dancing yourself, but it is something that you created and prepared. So we're really excited to work with you on this Sunday. Thank you so much, CC. We look forward to seeing you and your dancers very soon. Thanks for
Thank
joining.
you so much.
Bye
We're very
bye.
excited. Bye.
Well, that was CC Cummings, artistic director and co-founder of Ballet Texas. We're very excited to have her and her dancers for the Nutcracker excerpts. And if you want to see the Waltz of the Flowers, you'll have to go to their full show at the Brontex later in the month. But you'll get a teaser from us. We'll do 5 movements from the Nutcracker with the dancers on Sunday. Okay, well, I'm ready for my next guest. Our next guest is one of the favorite local musicians in New Braunfels and Central Texas. Her name is Yesenia McNett, and she is a wonderful singer. You've probably seen her at the Brontex, and if you haven't, you're about to meet her and then hear her sing. And to top it all off, she's a native New Braunfels person. So I'm going to bring her in. Hi, Yesenia.
Hi, Akiko.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Glad to be on today.
Thank you so much. Well, you don't look like you're on stage at the Brontex right now. Where are you tuning in from?
I'm actually tuning in from my day job. I work for the city of San Marcos, and just
Wow.
taking some time to chat with you all during this morning.
Thank you. Well, I'll try not to keep you too long so that you can get back to your work. But we're so excited. Tell us a little bit about your origin story as a singer.
Oh, well, I think a lot of singers probably share the same, at least origin with singing, where we sang more than we spoke, and we probably danced more than we walked around. So I definitely started out as a young singer in choirs, and got my first taste of being on stage with the musical Annie when I was 11, and had years as a musical theater singer. I actually am a card-carrying equity actress, and I do like to perform between Texas and sometimes flying out to California too to perform on some stages out there as well. And I got that equity card by doing the role of Patsy Cline in a show called Always Patsy Cline.
Okay.
So my singing started off in the musical theater realm, and as I grew to be an adult, in college, I continued taking voice lessons and sang in the chorus in some operas, which was a wonderful experience. But I've moved away from being a lyric soprano to doing a lot more with dance and variety bands and tributes. So at the Brontex Theater, most people now know me as the one who does the tributes to a lot of pop, rock, and country stars. Like the most recent one was a tribute to Dolly Parton earlier in just January or February of this year. I've done Linda Ronstadt. I've done Carole King, even Fleetwood Mac, of course, Patsy Cline, and then some other bands like the Doobie Brothers and others. So that is, that's the variety that I do now.
That's amazing. How do you channel each one of those iconic artists?
It's usually spending a lot of time completely immersed in their music, reading if they have any books out, especially an autobiography. I love to hear it from their perspective.
And okay.
Kind of like an actor studying a role. That's kind of the intensity that I go into. I love as well to listen to spoken interviews if they're available, or hear any live versions of their songs instead of just the radio versions that we get used to hear what type of flexibility they might have had in their voice, or what other musical influences they may have had, even if that wasn't what made the final cut. So anything that I can do to take that on. For Patsy Cline, that's the one where I do speak like her, dress like her, everything.
Wow.
And so that was a lot of time listening to so many deep cuts and tracks of her speaking voice, and learned that she had a real grasp of some jazz stylings, and it made me appreciate the artist all the more.
That's amazing. Now, one of our board members, Candy Carpenter, says she accompanied you when you were in high school on the piano. What was it like growing up as a musician in New Braunfels?
So at that time, in middle school through high school in New Braunfels, I went through the Canyon High School route, and Candy was one of our accompanists, and fabulous. So I was doing musical theater at that time. I had joined a youth troupe called the Inner Circle here in town with Circle Arts Theater in the Land of Park area.
Yes.
So that, musical theater was all the rage. As otherwise is, as a kid growing up in New Braunfels, we had the luxury of being right between two bigger cities, Austin and San Antonio, and the music scene, the live music scene in San Marcos. So there was a lot of leaving New Braunfels, honestly, to enjoy and take in more music, or even opportunities to sing. When I did contests, they weren't usually ever in town. I was usually traveling to San Antonio or Austin to but it's changed. The live music scene here has really grown and really flourished, and I think the sentiment is the same between all of the local artists, that we're really feeling like this is a boon for us lately. I think venues are starting to see the importance of having live music and what talent we have right here in this area.
I couldn't agree more. And I feel so lucky that we as a symphony, we split our time between Seguin and New Braunfels, but both cities are growing and rapidly. And we just want to keep up with the growth of the area. And with that, population growth comes all the, talent that was already here before, but more audience, as well as new talent coming in. And I think it's a really exciting time to be making music in our area.
Absolutely, I agree. Mhm.
And all the variety, the amazing flexibility and versatility that you mentioned of all the different genres that you sing makes me even more appreciative of the fact that I'm asking you to sing two very different songs on our holiday concert. So you're going to be on the second half, and we're going to hear you sing White Christmas, which, of course, is one of the best Christmas songs ever. And this orchestral arrangement is kind of a very jazzy, moody treatment. And then we're also doing Believe, kind of the theme song or the torch song from the Polar Express, made famous by Josh Groban. And we're going to do that with you and the Seguin ISD Children's Chorus. So it's very exciting. Do you sing a lot from A Great American Songbook?
Yes, I do. It's usually specific gigs that ask for it. With my band, the Groove Doctors, we are doing usually Motown to top 40 current hits, a lot of disco. But in Austin, I've got a smaller group of musicians that I pull from, and we play at country clubs, weddings, other places like that that do ask for jazz or the classic songs from the American Songbook. Yes, we are happy to jump on it. I wish it was something that I was asked to do a little more often. So getting to do an Irving Berlin song with you, so one from the 40s and that classic White Christmas, I'm looking forward to doing some crooning.
Yes, we want you to croon. That's exactly what we want you to do. And we'll be swooning to your crooning. So I'm very excited that we get to collaborate with you. You're a local star as well as in the regional, metropolitan area. And we're honored to have you with us for this holiday. So thank you so much, Yesenia. We'll let you get back to the rest of your life for today. But we will see you on Sunday.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Yesenia. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, that was the great vocalist Yesenia McNett. Really excited to work with her. I mentioned that we're doing something from Polar Express, the movie. And there's a little bit of a movie theme to this concert. Starting with the end of the first half, following the Nutcracker excerpts, we're going to full cinematic mode. Movie soundtracks, Christmas movie soundtracks, starting with It's a Wonderful Life. We're going to do the very end of the movie, Christmas Eve finale. And this is music by Tiomkin, Tiomkin. That's the composer. And I didn't know this one until I started conducting movie from this score from this movie. But originally, It's a Wonderful Life was supposed to be a very depressing, kind of dramatic movie with no happy ending. So Tiomkin, he already knew how to write very complex, lush scores, like a lot of the early to mid 20th century Hollywood composers who were classically trained. He was one of those guys like Eric Korngold, and so he knew how to write these big, lush symphonic scores. And he was asked to do the original version of It's a Wonderful Life. So he wrote a lot of dramatic, dark, brooding music that didn't all get used because the final cut was This Is a Christmas Story. And at the end, George Bailey, of course, decides not to jump off from the bridge. And he sees his family and friends, and he realizes that life is wonderful after all. And, the famous quote, no man is a failure who has friends. So it's a very happy holiday ending. But that explains why there's a lot of dramatic music. So we're just going to do the last 3 minutes of the movie because it has some of the best sounds and tunes. It starts very dramatic, like something, magical is happening in the air. And it goes into kind of sleigh bells like sound. And there's an excerpt of Silent Night. And then, of course, you're going to hear Auld Lang Syne, which is sung at the end of the movie. And I wouldn't be mad if you decide to jump in and hum along or sing along while we play this very dramatic, beautiful end to It's a Wonderful Life. After that, we have an intermission, and then we jump into more movie scores. We have a medley of Christmas at the movies. There will be a quiz at the end of the performance of which movie scores were embedded in that medley, besides the Polar Express. We also have, White Christmas, which was used in a movie. And then we have March of the Toys. It's a perennial favorite at these holiday concerts. It's from Babes in Toyland, and music is by Victor Herbert, another one of those classically trained composers who also wrote for movie soundtracks. So this is, of course, the music for toys that are at the bottom of a Christmas tree. And at night, when all the lights go out, everyone's sleeping, the toys start to get out of the boxes and march around and make a little, cause a little ruckus. But then, of course, they get back into their boxes at the end and by the morning. So it's a very, very wonderful score that we always love to play. And then after that, we welcome the Seguin ISD Children's Chorus, directed and prepared by Keith Robinson. The kids will sing. We're going to stay kind of in the kids movie mode and do a medley called A Cartoon Christmas from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I didn't know all the songs that came from this movie. So maybe for some of you, it will be, some of it will be new to you as well, besides the main theme, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So I'm sure the kids will be great in it. And then, as I mentioned, they're going to sing Believe from the Polar Express with Yesenia, which will be very, very moving. And of course, we're going to ask you all to sing along with us on some Christmas carols, during which Santa may or may not appear. And then, as it has become tradition, Santa may or may not conduct Sleigh Ride by Leroy Anderson. Of course, the piece needs no introduction. But I just want to talk a little bit about the composer Leroy Anderson. He wrote also the opening work of our concert, A Christmas Festival, which is, also a perennial favorite. And he was just a great American composer. He also wrote a piano concerto. He wrote a concerto for a typewriter and orchestra. He was just a great composer. And of course, groups like, the Boston Pops, Arthur Fiedler, they made him a household name. So I'm just really grateful that he wrote all this great music, Christmas or not, because otherwise our concert halls in America would be very lonely. So with that, I'm going to close our chat today, our Backstage Pass. That's our new name, new branding for the virtual pre-concert lecture. And we always enjoy giving you a little insight into the music that will be performed and the people that will be performing them. So stay tuned. There'll be more in 2025. Until then, happy holidays and happy New Year. And of course, we'll see you on Sunday at 4 o'clock at Jackson Auditorium. Thank you and see you then. Bye-bye.